by me. I hate you.
You crazy mother...
Welcome to the official podcast of the Brewmasters Club, Craft Brews and Geek News. Sit back, pour yourself a pint, and let's get into it.
Jill for having us out here. Thank you for our friends here who I'll introduce in just a moment. We are the Craft Brews and Geek News podcast. So we're actually founded by the Brewmasters Club, which is here in the city of Tampa, the state of Florida, celebrating craft beer and all that we do. This special event that you guys either came to or just happen to be a part of now is called Florida Craft Beer Day. So we started this holiday or this thing a few years ago, and we'll spend some time here kind of going through it. But of course, first I want to introduce my panel here, the guys, our friends, who most probably everybody already knows. But we are going to just do a full-blown podcast here, so you guys are all encouraged to jump in. If you have any questions, let us know. This is going to be more of a Q&A kind of thing, meet the brewers, and we got a couple interesting guys to talk to. So first off, again, my name is Donnie, and I've been in the beer industry for about 5 years prior to me starting the company in 2016. I actually worked for AB, for Anheuser-Busch, so I worked for them for a long time, learned a lot of good things. That was around 2004, 2007. Was kind of my end time there with them. And since then, I've always wanted to be connected to craft beer, so we have been. This is merely just another way that we can support craft beer and do all that we can as a little podcast here to help spread the word of craft beer. So next to my left here is Mr. Ryan. You guys turn on the mics. Let's all talk about it.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan. I go by Brewboy813 on the podcast. I forget how that name actually came to be. Just real quick, is this one on here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just that whole thing. Anyway, it's really cool to be here and look forward to just talking about craft beer, everything that we could think about for the craft beer in Florida. And I actually have a jalapeno IPA that we're all going to be able to sample if you stick around after the show. So I'm really looking forward to that. And
Yep, and then the third member here that we have for the podcast, his name is Nick Gallagher. He's my brother, my good buddy, and he's been with us since the beginning. So.
Little brother, I just want to point that out, although can't really tell. Yes, so my name's Nick. I'm at Mr. Lousman on Twitter. Been rolling with these guys for a hot minute now. They tend to know all the beer stuff, and I tend to drink all the beer stuff, so really kind of a symbiotic relationship. Other than being brothers and friends. But yeah, excited to be here. Real excited to be on the podcast again.
And then, starting off with our list of friends here, we have Mr. Christian on the far left here, who is the owner and proprietor here of Brew Florida Growler Bar. Christian, how are you?
I am doing great. Very excited to be hosting the event tonight. My wife Jill and I are really excited to have everybody out here and just really enthusiastic to be taking part of this.
Excellent. So, Christian, a lot of people here clearly know what Brew is, but can you just give us a little bit of background as to what Brew is and kind of what you guys do here?
Sure, yeah. So we are exclusively focused on Florida brews throughout the state. So that includes all Florida breweries for beer, kombucha, coffee, ciders, meads, just about everything. We really try and highlight the state and all the great breweries that are out there, and then really focusing in on the growler as well, so bringing a lot of brews to the area here in Odessa that you can kind of grab on the go and take home and enjoy with other friends and family without having to sit at a bar and do it. So,
fantastic. Well, thanks again for having us.
No problem.
Ryan, why don't you introduce our good friends here, speaking of Florida beer?
yeah, absolutely. So down the other side of the table here, we have Tim from Craft Life, and we also have Chris from 610, and two guys that have just, for me at least, have been amazing and helped me along my brewing journey, and I can't thank you guys enough. But Tim, why don't you go ahead and tell a little the folks about Craft Life and what you guys are doing over there.
Well, hey, how you doing? I'm Tim from Craft Life. What we took is we took a small biker bar and brought it into the craft brewery. It was a place that not a lot of people wanted to go to before, and we were bringing craft beer into Leno Lakes.
Yeah.
We're one of two in that area at the moment. We have In the Loop, and then we have Craft Life at the moment. So
Definitely.
Wouldn't have been easier to bring the motorcycles in the boat. I mean, I'm just saying. You do you, but they are on wheels.
There was a lot of problems with that grate.
Not a whole lot of space either, I could assume. But they have a great stage and a great setup out there. So thanks for being here, Tim. Really appreciate it. And Chris, how you doing this evening?
Good, doing good. I've had opportunity to talk with you guys before, which is great, and really, I've actually had some of your beer as well. So
Yeah.
that's what it's all about, and it should be, because I started home brewing in '89, and 1990 started a homebrew club, Tampa Bay
okay.
Beers, me and 9 other guys, and they're still around. It's like we're 26, 27 years old now. Started
Wow.
in 1990. So
I didn't realize you've been brewing that long. I thought it was just, maybe in the last 10 years,
Yeah,
or
no.
6 to 10 years. But
No. So then, started the brewery in 2014. That's when we officially opened. Actually, yesterday was our anniversary, official anniversary,
awesome.
February 14th.
Congrats.
And, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. So
4
definitely.
years,
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's really good. Yeah, that's really good. I've seen your club before too. I've craft beer fest all over the place here in Tampa, at least. I've definitely seen you guys around because we've been doing this, like I said, for a few years ourselves. So it's great. Well, it's great to have you, man. Thank you so much. And we'll come back because I want to learn a little bit more about 610, a little more about craft life, and kind of how we can really get together. But of course, the whole the reason for us coming together tonight, amongst besides spending time with good friends and celebrating good beer, is to really recognize today, February 15th, as Florida Craft Beer Day. And I don't know if you saw the sign over there next to Gus. That is actually our proclamation from the city of Tampa. So it is signed by Mr. Bob Buckhorn, our great mayor. He's a really cool dude. He's actually supported this initiative, this day, for the last 3 years. Like I said, luckily we were able to meet up with Christian and Jill here at Brew and have this kind of an event here because of the focus of what they do and how they purely focus on craft beer. From the state of Florida, it's a no-brainer as to why we should be here.
Absolutely.
So why we celebrate? Well, according to the Brewers Association, Florida boasts 260 operational breweries in the state, and 76 of those are located in Tampa Bay, or the Tampa Bay area. Now that extends down to Sarasota, but it's still quite an impressive number. Florida Craft Beer Day. So the day itself was actually started in 1896. And it says that on those koozies, on our logo, and all sorts of stuff that we have here for Florida Craft Beer Day. So the significance of that is that in 1896, on February 15th, the first brewery opened in the southeastern United States, and it was called Florida Brewing Company. The letters of that brewing company are still etched on the building in downtown, Ybor actually, right off 4th Ave today. So it's very cool. It's a tradition that's, craft beer is something that's been around in the state for a long, long time, and we just want to be part of the crew that celebrates it. That original brewery actually served Teddy Roosevelt, the Rough Riders. It served, I think, 20,000 barrels on its opening year, and then 80,000 repeatedly after that, up until a little thing called Prohibition. So that kind of put the halt on it, but that day, 1896, will always be forever known as the Florida Craft Beer Day.
Well,
So-
and Tim, you were just talking about how your first cooler or one of your coolers that you had, you just plugged it in, and there you go. These guys, they had to literally pioneer the whole system and tried something that had never been done before in the late 1800s. So these guys really had the powerhouse through, and I think even to have 20,000 barrels,
Right,
or
yeah.
something like that in a year is just a huge number. Chris, what do you guys put out there at 610 in a year? Is it way more than that, or
No, we're nowhere near 20,000
That's
barrels.
okay.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of beer.
That's a lot of beer. Yeah. That would
What
be.
would it
I'd
take?
be hard pressed to do that on a 10-barrel system.
Oh, okay.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, it would be brutal. Yeah.
All right, so again, just thinking of the day itself and why we celebrate. I know, Christian, you had prepared at least something to talk about, or you wanted to mention a few notes as to why you guys felt it was so important. If you want to grab the mic, speak up. This is your time. We'd love to hear what this kind of means to you.
The day itself.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
So the day itself is super exciting. I mean, from why we kind of opened this place to a certain degree, my wife and I did it selfishly, right? It's not getting out nearly as often with 2 young kids. The easiest way to get good beer was just to open a bar. So that was kind of the baseline for how we went off. But as we looked more and more into it and we were thinking about it, I'm originally from the state of Florida, born and raised in Miami, and been down in Tampa for over 10 years now with my wife and kids. And we just really wanted to focus on the state. We just thought as much beer that is out there and great beers there are throughout the U.S. now, there's just so many great breweries in the state here locally. And so a day like today just sort of highlights that and showcases all the really cool things that are happening across the state. So we just try and highlight as much as we can the different breweries from across the state, the different breweries that we have here locally, and try and promote them as much as we can and educate consumers as much as we can as well. It gets us really excited when we can push a couple of people to try a new beer or to go to a brewery they haven't been to before, because they saw it here and we were able to educate them. So as much as we can support Florida and all the brewers within it, that's really what we want to do. And so a day like today just kind of hits everything right what we want to focus on. So we're really excited to be a part of it.
And to that, I frequent this place quite a bit. It's really close to my house, and every week they've always got something new to try. So, and I think it was even during Hurricane Irma that we were coming back from Georgia. This was past Hurricane Irma, sorry. We're coming back Thanksgiving, and I called Christian, and I was like, hey, what was that beer that you wanted from Swamphead? And so it's kind of cool because he had some stuff here on tap, and then he was like, oh, but I really wanted to try this one, and then I was able to bring some back. So, it's just really neat to try different beers here, but then also try them as you go throughout the state of Florida. You really get that experience here.
Well, Florida's a great beer state. It's becoming
Absolutely.
a beer destination. There's beercations that are taking place here. And we have places like Dunedin and like Land O'Lakes and like Ybor. There's 7 breweries in Ybor. That kind of blows my mind because I remember back in the day, just a few years ago, not even back in the day, there was only Tampa Bay Brewing Company, and that was really it. But now there's 7 other breweries there, and in places, little pockets like that are kind of popping up all over the state, and it's good for the economy. It's good for for the people that like beer. It's good for small business, and that's kind of what we're all about. Is just how we can really come together, as a craft beer industry, or even followers or fans, and just really do something good.
Absolutely.
I have some stats here. It's about 6:51. So anybody we do a statewide toast at 7 o'clock. So if you have a beer, you don't have a beer, time to get one. Go see Jill and the staff at the bar, or whoever may be up there, and grab one because we will do a toast at 7 o'clock on the dot. And of course we'll count it down. But while we're doing that, just some stats to consider. Now these are from, again, the Brewers Association. Unfortunately, they don't do a report every year, so this is from 2016, but at that time, craft beer was responsible for 22,000 jobs in the state of Florida. That's no small feat. I mean, that's a major corporation if you think about it as one lump sum. So that together is pretty interesting. In terms of salaries and wages for those employees of those breweries, I mean, we're in the billions, 1.2, I believe. So again, it's impressive that craft beer has this much power, this much money, this much economic value. Just in the Tampa Bay alone, again, we're talking about 76 breweries opening, and there's 10 more on the horizon that have either been applied for or been coming this way. Chris and Tim, just while people are still getting their drinks, I read an article the other day about the collaborative nature of craft beer, and so I wanted to ask you guys, sitting right next to each other, sharing a beer, having your own roles at your own breweries, I mean, what do you guys think about that in terms of how the collaborative nature of craft beer is and what that kind of means for your business?
Well, last year I went to Big Storm and collaborated with Zebra Brewing and on the Pasco Porter that we did for the Pasco County area. And it was quite an interesting thing considering I brew on a 1-barrel system. So I offered my system.
A great 1-barrel system, by the way.
Yes, thank you. I offered my system to them, and they said, no, we'll do it on theirs. So it was really interesting on how much automation is actually involved in how they brew there compared to what I do. But the beer came out good. We all collaborated on it. We built the recipe. We found the ingredients. I actually sourced some local kumquat from the Bay City Kumquat Farm. They were really nice. I know a lot about kumquats now.
There's a lot to learn about kumquats.
More than I thought. But it was a really good experience, and I hope to do it again with another group as soon as I can.
Yeah, it's fantastic, especially when you use local fresh ingredients like that. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
it
that's
changes,
the best part.
changes the game.
What about some local homebrewers? Ever paired up with?
I've already paired up with Mike over there.
Yeah.
We did at Moab. We have a beer together, and it was quite good.
That is a delicious beer.
Up at their Beer Fest.
How about you, Mr. Chris?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's what drew me into this industry is the collaborative nature, sharing of information. Hey, I need a bag of grain. I thought I had it, and I was going to make this beer. You post something, and in 20 minutes, someone somewhere can help you out.
Huh.
And you just do. It's like your order was supposed to come in, or it came in and didn't have that bag on there, or maybe you miscounted. But yeah, just simple stuff like that. Pots. That's not necessarily a collaborative thing, but it's allows you to do what you're going to do that day.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, how many businesses can you say, oh, call down, the Wendy's calls down to Burger King and says, hey, we need some hamburgers or something.
Right.
You're like, oh, no.
We ran out of oil.
Yeah.
You're on your own.
You're on your own for sure.
Send all your business our way. We'll take care of your
We'll take care of your fries.
Take care of your customers, of course.
Out of salt, are you?
Yeah, I mean, collaborations are great. We did one with Maestries. We did an American sour. They brought the yeast. They did the grains. We cooked it off at our shop on the big system. I think we did 7 barrels.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't a big batch, but it wasn't all 10, but we did 7 barrels. Turned out really interesting. We did a party valve style, which was a different technique. Michael, the brewer, went to, he was officially trained, USF brewing school, I believe.
Yep.
So, all the training I had was basically OJT and at the house. So, over the years, it's, I think the majority of brewers in this country basically learned at home. That's a relatively new event to be able to go to brewing school.
Yep.
But yeah, collaborations are great. I think it's healthy. Don't know if the big guys will do that. Miller/Bud Light. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Small guys. Hey, we'll take it big. I mean, we'll take the small guys because that's what we really, again, that's where the impact comes from, and that's where the individuality comes, and that's where this using fresh kumquats from a farm down the street, comes into play. That's where a guy like Christian and his wife can have a business that have pride in using what's around them to build, a great place for people to come have a drink, but also a business and a bit of a family. So it's really it's a cool thing, and I think that's the whole goal, right?
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so we're looking. We got about 3-minute warning, everybody. So make sure you are visiting the bar and picking up some drinks. Since we're kind of talking about the collaborativeness, we want to have a few minutes here before the toast. I just had a couple of questions about kind of how you guys got started. It might take more time than a few minutes, but I don't know if you had anything quick for the guys.
Oh, no.
Christian, go ahead.
I was just going to add one more thing on the collaboration front. I don't brew myself and definitely don't have a brew to collaborate with someone else, but to kind of what Chris was speaking to earlier, the industry itself is just such a friendly, helping environment. So as we were getting started up, both Jill and I sort of new to this completely in terms of running a bar and all the things that come with it. We reached out to a lot of different brewers, and they, opened their doors and had us come in. Chris in particular, that's how we met Chris and Leslie. They were very sharing, a lot of knowledge that we were able to get from that experiences that they went through, that they shared with us, that helped us out a lot. Which I think that's one of the other fun things about working in this industry is that there's competition and it's a business at the end of the day, but there's so many great breweries out there that really just want to help. And so it's one of the things I've enjoyed the most about it, just meeting with the people in the industry and being able to share those stories and help out. We look forward to being able to, not that we know that much, but if everyone came to us, being able to kind of share our story with them as well. So.
It is a story. I mean, you guys have started this thing out of nothing, and you've got this great, again, this prideful story, and now look at it. I mean, how long have you been in operation?
Just over 4 months.
Right. Look at you now, man. This is great.
And we were waiting for him to open.
Yeah, we
too.
were.
Like, we would pop our heads in because we would eat at the breakfast diner or G Peppers, and I'm like, is this place open yet? And then like one day they were, and I was like, oh, let's go in and see what's going on. And it was just a really cool place. I always liken it to a little cozy nook, if you will. Yeah, that's I've said it dozens of times before, but
I was just gonna say. I mean, I imagine reruns of Cheers probably helps as well. I kind of imagine that. If I'm
No,
at a bar
it's,
of my own, where everyone knows their name.
it's curling.
We do curling here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw the pictures. Yeah, the
He's got
pictures are-
shirts.
All right, everybody beard up. You guys can make some noise too if you want to. It's all right. It's a party. We're having a good time.
It's a celebration of Florida
There
craft
you go.
beer in its entirety. So
I think we're close enough.
Like it's a lot bigger.
That's right. So on the count of 10, we'll count down. Ready? Florida Craft Beer Day. Ready? Whatever you need to do. All right, ready? So we got
that's
10,
after the cheers.
9, 8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cheers, everybody! Here's the Florida Craft Beer Day.
Happy Florida Craft Beer Day, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
Tim, Chris, thank you for being here.
And welcome to the people who just
Cheers,
walked in. Very confused.
Today is Florida Craft Beer Day. We can start over for you if you'd like.
So those of you that didn't just walk in, now that you've learned a little bit about 610, about Craft Life, about Tim, Chris, and Christian here, does anybody have any questions to start off or to ask these guys how they got started, where they came from? I'm putting them on the spot now, but of course I wanted to surprise them. So I have a couple to kick us off, but if anything you guys think of, please just raise your hand or come on up, and we're all here again to collaborate, to learn, to talk to each other. So this is the Q&A part of the night here that we're going to take about 25 minutes and learn something from these guys. All right, Ryan, you want to start us off? You want me to?
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Go for it.
So we kind of talked about the start, and I'll start with you, Mr. Chris. I know you may have to leave here shortly after we end here, but 610, pretty interesting name. Where'd it come from?
Well, basically,
All the way.
my wife and I worked IT for 25 years. So being in that business, computers only break at 5 o'clock. So we never left work at 5 o'clock. So our goal was to put a Band-Aid on whatever broke and meet up for beer and pizza at 610. So basically, we gave up the 9 to 5 for 610.
There you go.
So every day 610,
Very
That's
cool.
pretty cool.
So Mr. Tim? Yeah, it's very good. Mr. Tim, similar question. Craft Life Brewing.
I also am in IT. 30 years.
I think we got a collaboration going on over
I'm
here.
still doing IT, but Craft Life, we were doing a play on Salt Life or Nurse Life or anything like that.
Enjoy the craft one.
And I could have swore that somebody would have that logo already, so we went out and went through the trademarking and everything, and sure enough, nobody had that name. So that was our feeling, and we wanted to make it more like a family. So now one of our hashtags is Craft Life Family. Because the people that come in there, it's a small place, it's really cozy. They all know each other. They sing the Cheers song together.
There you go.
It's that kind of place now. So, that's where we came up with the name. So we get that kind of feeling behind it.
So
And it really gives that feeling too. Anytime you go over there, Tim's always willing to talk to you about beers that he's got on tap, and everybody's really homey feeling. You, Donnie, you and I, we've sat up there. We played Battleship before when there's a loud concert going on in the background, trying to record ourselves for a podcast.
Yeah.
So
that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
I like it.
But ever since day one, I mean, he even showed us around. He was showing us where his grains were, where his hops were, and where he kegged everything. So it's always had that very open feeling at Craft Life, and at 610 as well. I've never been.
I did all my own labor in finding out the documents that we had to apply to, the drawings that we had to make for where the brew house was and things like this. But then there was a level of, you can't find the answers that you're looking for, and you have to go to somebody else that's already done it and ask them about, how did you get this done? So that could be a lot simpler. The government's changed the way they're doing the paperwork now. There used to be 8,000 people on the bottom and 3 people that used to do all the final judgments. Now they've taught those 8,000 on the bottom to do it. So licensing is going quicker.
Okay.
The thing is that the people on the bottom now are so much more stringent on the requirements that they really put you through the ringer because they don't want to get in trouble when they finally get covered on the top. So,
Okay.
So that kind of documentation knowledge, the help on that, some assistance on that would be efficient. Helping people get over that hump because there's so much to think about when they're starting to a business like this.
So brewing the beer is actually the easy part.
That's the easy part.
That's awesome. So speaking of easy parts, and this isn't an easy part, but Chris, go back to you. What would you say led to the biggest, why craft beer is over the 1%? Why are people so interested now? I mean, sure, it's beer, it gets you drunk, you have a good time, everybody likes that stuff, but we're at such a degree of craft beer where you can get it down to a pinpoint. If you particularly like sours that are drier rather than sweeter, or stouts that drink like peanut butter cups, I mean, you can really get your taste, your palate down to whatever you want. So what do you think is the best or the biggest thing that makes craft beer so strong right now?
Well, I think that the consumer is much more educated, and they will not settle for just whatever's on the shelf. They will seek out the flavors, like you just mentioned. They'll seek out styles. There's hundreds of styles of beer that people have never even heard of, and much less in this country, probably haven't really been brewed on a commercial scale. I mean, even the Mischievous Black it's a Swartz beer, but commercially it's not really a big beer in America. Now, continental Europe, that's what everyone drinks if you're going to drink a dark beer. They don't drink the stouts and the porters. In this country, I think the stouts and porters really do rule, but in a hot state like Florida, lagers, there's a lot of lager beers that are sold, but they're usually lighter in color, and they don't have the roasty notes or anything like that. But I think that's part of it is the consumer, but the other part too is the breweries and brewers are willing to take a chance and make these beers, because you don't know, at the end of the day, you got to sell what you make.
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's really going to take off or not. And especially with sours, there's a lot of different categories with sours, and I would say that is the biggest surprise to me. I didn't realize I'd be making that many sour beers. But that is, once again, that's a very subset of the craft beer drinker, small subset, but they're very loyal. They like drinking sour beers, and they're very experimental. They will try different things. I think that's another element of it. You have the skill sets available in the state, and you have they're willing to take those chances and put stuff in bottles that's never been in bottles before in this country.
Well, I think that's a huge piece of it, and even bringing Christian's business model into the equation here. We are on the podcast at least here have talked for hours about what makes or what would constitute a good brewery, because breweries close too. I mean, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. There's I don't know how many closed. Last year it was triple digits. I mean, it happens, and that's a shame. But what leads to that is the innovation that you're talking about, or what leads to the opposite of that, to staying open, is the innovation and the willing to do that. I mean, the business model of saying, hey, I'm not a brewery. Christian's admitted it 10 seconds ago, but he sells all flat Florida craft beer in a market that was thirsty for it, literally, and ready to take that chance. So from an innovation standpoint, I mean, is that, in our eyes, that's what we've always said. I mean, is that kind of coming from a brewer standpoint? I mean, the innovation is so crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. The outlets that you provide your products, in this case, craft beer, there aren't that many growler bars, really. I think that's a very underserved market. Ironically, in this state, brew pubs too. We don't have a lot of brew pubs. In other states, it's the opposite. They have a lot of brew pubs, very few production breweries, or what we call on-premise drinking. Basically, it's like we open a tap room. But in Florida, I think it's also a different state. We do lag the nation in craft beer, but we've done a really good job in the last 5 years catching up to that. With all the new beers or new breweries that have opened up, and then the styles. And I think that's just a beginning of more to come. I'd love to see us get to 20% market share in the state. We're the third largest state, and I think that when that happens, you're going to see a lot of other stuff start to click in. Like right now, we don't have access to a lot of beers. You don't get really get the Allagash, the Russian River.
Right. Yeah, there are quite a few that are fantastic
Right.
beers. They win the competitions in Colorado every year, and we don't see much.
Right, because then in markets like Philly, where they have 20% market share,
Sure, right.
Denver, and other places like that, where Portland, where majority of the beer sold is craft beer.
Well, Portland's a great example. I was there last summer for a business trip. There is a brewery on literally every corner. Literally every corner.
It's like a Starbucks.
breweries.
Small brewery.
Like literally every
And
corner.
nanos are everywhere.
To add to the point